that for the first time also again in Fiji, you will have elections, and I hope many of you can participate in that. Votes now will be counted wherever the votes are cast. So before, what used to happen, if for example you cast your vote and you're living in Namosi, your votes in the ballot box will be taken all the way from Namosi and brought to Suva Grammar School. If you lived in the Western Division in the Yasawas, or you lived up in Bukuya, up in the hills, your ballot box will be taken all the way to Natambua High School. And if you lived in the Northern Division, your votes will be taken all the way to Lambasa Secondary School. For the first time this time, the votes will be counted wherever the votes are cast. Which means, if you have gone and voted at Dhuvu Secondary School, the votes, the ballot boxes after the polls close at 6 p.m., that's where the votes will be counted. So if you live in Dhuvu and you've counted and you voted in Dhuvu, you'll be able to see how the votes are counted. Everybody can watch. Which means everybody will be participating in the democratic process. Everybody will have a sense of stakeholdership. Everybody will know what is happening. It's all very transparent. And that has never happened before. Elections now, of course, will be conducted in one day. On the 17th of September, there will be a paid public holiday. In other words, if you are working, you'll be paid for the day, but there will be a public holiday. And you go and cast your vote. And for the first time also, on the national television, or the free-to-air television stations, FBC and Fiji TV, you'll be able to see the results as they come out. They'll be at the National Tele Center, where you'll see the results coming out on the board. And you can see the democratic process unfold. This is the first again for what is happening in Fiji. What really is a point of interest also is that nearly or over 52% of all the voters in Fiji going into the elections are below the age of 37. In other words, there are more young people voting this time than ever before. And out of that percentage of people who will be voting for the first, who are below the age of 37, many of them are first-time voters. Because remember, when the elections were last held in 2006, if you were 20 years old then, you would not have voted. Today you'd be 28, 29 years old. You would have had a family, you're probably in university then, but now you have a family, you may have children. So these are all the firsts that are taking place. So as youth, and I don't want to put any additional burden on your shoulders, you have a great responsibility. You will in fact determine the future of our beloved country. You will determine who will represent you, who will represent us in Parliament. So it is very critical that you understand some of the fundamental functions of government, some of the fundamental functions of Parliament, and perhaps more importantly now, understand what are all the political parties saying. What do all the political parties stand for? And who do you want to represent you? Some of you may be candidates, I don't know, for the elections. And if you are candidates, or if you are even not candidates, what you should be looking for in people who will represent you. And I think that is very critical. You need to have people who have integrity, people who don't lie, people who actually stand for principles. Today we see people who were at each other's throats only 2 years ago are now the best of buddies. Why are they best of buddies? Not because they have had some road to Damascus type of revelation, or they've suddenly become converted. They are doing so because it's convenient for them. So when you choose people, you need to look at what do they stand for. Have their principles always been the same? Or are they simply saying something to you but doing something in the background? And will the various people who will represent you, once they go into Parliament, will they do the best for you or will they do the best for themselves? That is very, very critical, where integrity and honesty should be given the most prominent value. And I think also the other point that I'd like to make is that you need to be able to identify yourself with a political party or a government that has a long-term view, that has a long-term plan. In the same way, if you're playing a particular game or a particular sport, you don't just play for the first 10, 15 minutes. You play for the full 80 minutes or the full 90 minutes. And that goes to show that the team will do really well if you have a game plan. In the same way, every country needs to have a game plan. We should not have politicians standing up and saying, I will do this for the next 3, 4 years. We need to ask them, what will you be doing for the next 10, 15 years? What's the game plan? Let me tell you a very small story. The Bainimarama government this year has given free education for up to Form 7. They have also made tertiary education available to anybody, as long as they get a place available in a university, will pay for you by way of a soft loan. If you earn below a particular income level, or a family earns below a particular income level, there's no interest. If you're top 600 students in the fields of study that we have chosen, then you also get a scholarship, full scholarship. Now, we could have not done this. If we did not do this, our budget would have been surplus budget for the first time probably. But we did this because we're looking at the long term. Can you imagine? In about 3 to 4 years' time, every student that will leave school will have Form 7 education. What does that mean? It means they have a better chance of getting better employment. It means they have a better chance of getting an employment that will pay them well. And if they want to go to university, they can also get a university degree. So it means the employers will be happy, they'll want to employ people. You'll be given better opportunities, or those students who get access to that opportunity and want to pursue that, they'll be able to live a more fulfilled life. The quality of debate, the quality of discussion within our country will be a lot better. You'll have people who'll be well informed, who'll be well educated, and who can then make their own choices. They can have better opportunities. Of course, those opportunities aren't always in Fiji. They can also go overseas. In the same way, we have about 2,000 to 3,000 Fijians in the British Army, and they're sending money back home. They're building their homes, they're sending money to their relatives. They're contributing to our economy. In the same way, we can have people educated. They may go and become an accountant or an engineer in Tonga, or Samoa, or Papua New Guinea, wherever it is, but they will still have loyalty to their own country. So we have done these things as a long-term goal. And I think that's what you need to be looking at. That's what you need to be focused on when you're making those very, very critical decisions. So I would like to, I don't want to make a very long speech, in particular after lunch. I know normally I used to get very sleepy after lunch when you attended these type of sessions. But what I would like to highlight to you is that you need to look at the long term. You are the future of our country. You will be making decisions. One day, one of you will be sitting up here as the Minister for Youth and Sports, or as the Attorney General, or as the Prime Minister. Sometimes in life, what you may not think is possible becomes a possibility even within a very short period of time. I had the opportunity yesterday of talking to Ilyas Delana, the gentleman who won the first Olympic gold medal in the Paralympics for us. I'm sure when he went to St. Joan of Arc School, nobody thought that he'd be in London winning the Olympic gold medal. But it was through his sheer determination, his fortitude, and his commitment, and no doubt he's a very disciplined man. Through that discipline, he's able to achieve what nobody thought that we could achieve, or he could achieve, and we could achieve as a country. So my message to you today is that, remember, the opportunities, there's no limitations. Our opportunities are only limited by how much we want to limit them by. You also have a very important role to play. And one of the things that I find really quite disturbing, if I can be very frank, you know, sometimes recently I've been watching the FIFA World Cup, or sometimes I see the rugby games between different countries. The emotion, the fervor that many of these people from these countries, when their national anthems are sung, is quite amazing. I recently went to the Fiji-Italy rugby match, And when now national anthem was being played, there were some people sitting down and some, being really slack, fundamentally. So we need to instill that sense of pride about our country. And I think that's really missing. We need to have a sense of patriotism towards our country. That's not just at a rugby match. It's not just at a soccer match. It is in every facet of our life. I have friends, for example, who are Singaporeans, and I know how patriotic they are about their country, in everything. So sometimes when I speak to them on the phone, and the phone line drops off, and I'll say to them when I ring them back, I said, oh, it's the Singapore telephone company, not the Fijian company. And they get very defensive, even though I'm joking. They get very defensive. No, must be the Fijian line, not the Singaporean line. The Singaporean telecommunications company can't never do anything wrong. That's the level at which they are committed to their country. And I think as the youth of Fiji, we need to develop the sense of patriotism. Because even if you work as a civil servant, even if you work in the private sector, you must always do your job properly. If you work as a civil servant, if you are tending to some farmers, I get complaints sometimes. I was in Vanuatu on the weekend where they said, oh, the Prime Minister, we complained to the Prime Minister's office, and within 2 days the Prime Minister responded and he sent down his person down who had to get the person who works in the division to attend to this, and that guy slackened off. Because he does not have a sense of commitment. The Prime Minister has a sense of commitment, the person below him had the sense of commitment, but the person who actually had to do the work did not have a sense of commitment. We need to have that sense of commitment. The opportunities in Fiji abound. We're a fantastic country, we're a beautiful country, we're a cosmopolitan country. We have numerous opportunities. With such a young population like ours, the opportunities are limitless. But we need to come together as one nation. We need to come together as a group of people who are committed to their whole country. In the same way, you'd be, if you're playing sports, if you're doing a community project, without everybody's commitment, there won't be success.